Okay, hello, good afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a video that was made by Mulatto Mindset. I believe that's his name. He made a video called "They Attacked Me and Called Me a Mutt." And so we're going to talk about that video today. Excuse my voice, I just woke up. But I listened to his video last night and was pretty upset by the way he got treated as a guest on a platform. And this is not surprising. This happens an awful lot with black people. Anytime you get on their platforms and you don't agree with anything and everything that they say, you get attacked, just literally attacked. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of black women they're coming into some of these biracial groups on Facebook, and then they're getting upset with the leaders of these pages and these groups, these chat groups, because these people want to identify because these biracial people want to identify how they want to identify. And here's my take on this, okay? When you're dealing with somebody else's children, okay, these biracials don't belong to the black community. First and foremost, let me make that very clear. Biracial people do not belong to the black community, okay? A lot of them are not even half black, and we're talking about the ones in this day and age. They are a lot of the biracials that a lot of people are seeing today fall within the 55 to 65 to 70% range of white, okay, because a lot of their so-called black parents that are getting into these interracial unions and having these biracial kids in the first place are already MGMs, okay? So their children are coming out not in the 50-50 range. They're coming out in the 55 to 70% range of white. Okay? So that's why a lot of these biracials of today look a whole lot different than the biracials did back in the 70s and the 60s. Okay? So because each generation, the black community is getting wider and wider and wider. And a big part of the reason why that is happening is because you got these black women that are telling their sons to date and procreate with whoever makes you happy. I have heard it a numerous amount of times. My sister tells her son that. My cousins tell their sons that. I've heard several other black women tell their sons, date whoever you want to date. I've heard I've heard YouTube influencers tell black men to date whoever they want to date who makes you happy. A lot of the times when I'm watching some of these videos, that talk about these interracial unions, and then I go down to the comment section and I'm reading the comments. A lot of the times I will see black women in particular in the comments telling black men to date, to go where they're happy. And a lot of the times black men are doing it too, but black women do it a lot. Go where you're loved, go where you're happy, date whoever you want to date. Okay, so it is my belief that at least 50 to 75% of black women in the black community are raising their sons to date whoever makes them happy. They're telling them race doesn't matter. Okay, so if that's how you want to raise your sons, then fine. But when they go out here and they start getting into these interracial unions with these other races of women, and then the kids start calling themselves biracial or mulatto or whatever they want to call themselves, whatever they want to refer to themselves as. There's different names that they have. It's mostly biracial. And a lot of them want to identify now as mulattoes because they want to reclaim that title, because they want to be more, they don't want to just blend in with everybody else. They want their own description. They want their own name. That's why a lot of them are calling themselves mulattoes instead of biracial, because biracial can mean Korean and black, German and black, Vietnamese and black, Mexican and black. So I think you get my point. So they want to be racially defined. They want their own title. Okay? So they're going as mulattoes, just like the Creoles have their name that their racial description is Creoles. And I know that Creoles don't only consist of mixed race people. I understand that you can be fully black and also be Creole, because it's really more of a culture than a racial classification. But when you say Creole, most people will automatically think racially mixed people from Louisiana. Okay, that's what most people are thinking when you say Creole. So my point is, as long as black women are out here raising their sons to date whoever makes you happy, date whoever you want to date, as long as you are encouraging, because some of you are actually out there encouraging your sons to date these white girls and these Hispanic girls, and because you want these, because the real reason why is a lot of the reasons why is because you want these exotic looking children. Okay, and a lot of you think that biracial people have, or these mixed race kids have, a much easier life, when in some cases they can, and then in a lot of cases we don't. Okay, we don't in a lot of cases. It has a lot to do with where you live and who you're associated with. Okay, but yeah, as long as black women are raising their sons, and I'm mostly blaming you guys because you're the ones that are out here raising a lot of these black males, okay? Because you bring up a lot of bastard children, because a lot of your children are fatherless. So you're the ones raising them to go ahead and date whoever they want to date. And I've heard a substantial amount of YouTube influencers telling black men, female YouTube influencers telling black men, go where you're loved, go where you're wanted, don't worry about what black women think, you know. And a lot of you do that because you think it's beneficial to the black community, okay, from the outside looking in. But when you really sit down and think about it, you're pretty much pondering off our pool of men to these other races of women. You're pretty much telling them, you're giving them the okay to go and, date all these other races. And you think that there's not going to be any consequences, but there are consequences, because now we have a whole community, a whole group of biracial people that want to disconnect from the black community, and they want to label themselves as mulattoes. And I fully back that up, because once you tell your sons, black women, once you tell them to date whoever they want to date, you have pretty much given up your right to claim your grandchildren as black. Okay? You've given up all rights to claim your grandchildren and other mixed race people in the community, to claim them as black. When you start telling your sons to procreate with whoever makes them happy, you have given up your right to claim their children as black, because they are no longer black. When they get into these interracial unions and have biracial children, they are part black and part whatever else they've interbred with. So part black and part white, part black and part Latino, or part black and part Indian, part black and part mestizo, whatever you want to call that, part black and part Indian, or part black and part Asian. Okay, when you start interbreeding with these other racial unions, your kids are no longer black. And so if they want to identify as Blasian, they have that right. Okay, if they want to identify as mulatto, they have that right. If they want to identify as Blatino or Blaxican, they have that right. Whatever they want to call themselves, you've pretty much given up ownership of your offspring when you tell your sons to go and procreate with whoever they want to procreate. You've pretty much given up all rights and ownership to claim those children as black. The minute you tell your sons, go and procreate with whoever you want to procreate with, you've given up your right to claim those children as black. Because now they are black and something else. And if they want to call themselves whatever, biracial, or if they want to just identify with what they really are, Blasian, which is half Asian and half black, Blaxican, which is half black and half Mexican, or Blatino, if they want to claim, black and Latino, whatever it is that they want to claim, as long as they're a part of that union, they have a right to do that. A lot of you out there act like you have some type of ownership on biracial people just because part of your genes have been combined with somebody else's genes. You act like you have full ownership of that offspring when you don't. Because the minute you told your sons to go and daughters to go and procreate with whoever they want to procreate with, you gave up that right of ownership of the offspring. You no longer own your grandchildren's identity, racial identity. You no longer own that. You own half of them, but not the full part of them, because you gave up that right when you're telling your sons to go and date whoever they want to date. So when they do that, and then they're bringing home these half black, half this, that, and the other kids, and then those kids get older and find out they're not really accepted in the black community, so they want to identify with something else other than black, then shut up and allow it to happen, because you gave up your right a long time ago the moment you told your sons to go and procreate with whoever makes them happy. And this goes for black men that are out there doing the same thing. If you're telling your sons to go and, because a lot of black men encourage their sons to date outside the race in spite of self-hate, being spiteful and self-hating at the same time. So a lot of the times when your kids want to identify as however they want to identify, shut up and deal with it. Okay, because you no longer have rights or ownership on an offspring that is half of something else. And that's pretty much, I think, all I wanted to cover on this topic. I think that's about all. But a lot of you guys have the nerve to come into these biracial chat rooms and argue with these biracial people about how they want to identify, when 95% of you are teaching and telling your offspring to date whoever they want to date and date whoever makes you happy, and it doesn't matter what race they are, and blah blah this and blah blah that, because you secretly want those biracial grandchildren. Let's just keep this real. Okay, you just as bad as white women. You want these biracial grandchildren so that you can show them off all over the black community as if they're, something special, when today they're not. They just blend in with all the other biracial children out there, because black men have pretty much created an entire new race of people. Okay, and a lot of them were given the okay by a lot of black women. Now, for those of you out there that are not raising your sons to date whoever, but they go out and do it anyway, but you didn't necessarily give them the okay to do that, that's a different ball game. But the children, once they're biracial, you really have kind of lost ownership of their title, their racial identity. Even if you don't give your sons the okay, once they interbreed with these other races of people, you kind of have lost ownership of their racial identity at that time. So stop acting like you got ownership of people just because they're part black. You don't have ownership over nothing, not even your own offspring. And it doesn't matter what you think, because biracial people are going to do what they want to do. Now they are trying to get a petition going so that a lot of the biracials, they want to, they're trying to send out a petition for black people to sign, which I really just think they should talk this over with the president, or, well, not Trump, because we already know he's going to classify all biracials as black. But when someone else gets in office, I think that biracial people need to just go directly to the president and speak to him so that they can get their own racial classification. Don't even ask black people, because, see, the plan that a lot of black people had was that they were going to allow their sons to date whoever they wanted to date, and then they were going to stamp that offspring as black, so that they can pretty much have ownership and titleship over biracial people. Basically, they can claim all their wins and then kick them out of the community anytime they get ready. And this is not how it works, guys. Okay, things don't work like that. These, a lot of these biracial people, because I'm an MGM, okay, so I claim mixed race. But a lot of the times, I'll say that I'm a black mixed race person. I still kind of fall within. I claim both, basically. I'm black, but I'm mixed. That's kind of what I call it, because it makes better sense to me, because a lot of all this MGM stuff is new. So I wasn't raised into that mentality. And so for me, I'm black, but I'm mixed works for me. Or MGM, that works too. Or I could even go with mulatto if I really wanted to, because I come from 2 mulatto parents. So, and my ancestry results are in the 50-40 range. I'm 55% black, 45% non-black. So I'm practically biracial, okay? So that's why I claim mixed race. But, I will say black but mixed. Now, because it just makes better sense to me. But because of the time frame that I grew up in and everything, see, a lot of these biracials today grew up in a different time frame. They want to claim mulatto. I see nothing wrong with it. But I want to reach out and tell black women to get off your high horse and stop acting like you own every fucking thing out here. Stop jumping all over people and cursing them out and acting like you got ownership on everybody's racial classification, because you don't. You don't own a goddamn thing, and you have no power. So, as long as you are allowing your sons to date whoever they want to date, and as long as you are telling them, and the majority of you are telling them to date whoever they want, then understand that there's consequences for that. And those consequences are that the offspring is going to want to separate when they find out that they're not being treated as equals, because a lot of us are not. Let's just keep this real. When they find out that they're not black enough for the majority of you out there, and they want to claim their own racial identity, it is no longer up to you. It is up to them. Okay? I back them up 100%, and we will fight you on this. We will go to a verbal war, online, an internet war, whatever you want to call it. We'll take this all the way to the White House. We'll take this to the Supreme Court. However we have to classify ourselves as mulatto or biracial, whatever we want to call ourselves. We will fight you if we have to, okay? Because a lot of you fed into this. You purposely did this because you have issues with other black women, a lot of you out there. So you tell your sons to go and date these women from these other races. A lot of you encourage it because you have tension, you have racial tension towards other black women in your community. So a lot of you do that to be spiteful. A lot of you do that to be spiteful. Because you know that you're pretty much pondering your sons off onto these other races. You're pretty much telling them to go and date whoever they want to date, knowing that we already have a black male shortage in the community. You know this, but you don't give a damn, and you're telling your sons to go and do whatever they want to do, already knowing that we already have a massive amount of black male shortage in the community. You could care less, but you damn sure are worried about what them kids want to claim themselves as. You guys have a whole lot of fucking nerve. You really do. Okay? So my advice to mulatto mindset and to the other mulattoes out there, go ahead and identify with how you want to identify. I would find other ways to try to get the okay on your racial classification. Maybe make a personal visit to the White House and ask, once Trump gets out of office, when a Democrat gets in, ask them if you can, if the president wants to allow people to vote on that, find other ways, because if you're just going to leave it up to the black community, they're not going to sign the petition for you to have your own racial classification. But yet they'll teach their sons to go and date whoever they want to date, but then they want you to claim what they think. They want you to claim yourselves what they think that you should claim. Some of them want you to claim black, others want you to claim strictly biracial. They don't want you claiming mulatto, when really it's up to you. It's your racially classification, your racial classifying yourselves. They act like you're racially classifying them, but they seem to act like they got ownership on you guys, okay, on all of us, really, and that's a lot of damn nerve. So I think, like I said, I think that there needs to be some other way to get this racial classification okayed, so that we can identify how we want to identify. We shouldn't really need the black community's permission to do anything, because they don't. Like I said, once you tell your sons to date whoever they want to date, you have lost ownership at that time on your offspring. So make a personal visit to the White House. Maybe they might, and sit down and have a meeting, and talk it over. I think that they'll listen. I don't think that, because this petition thing, nobody is coming forward. They all want to get out here and race mix, but then when it really comes down to it, they don't want to allow mixed race people to racially classify how they want to classify. I think that's real interesting. But I think that mulattoes need to take measures into their own hands and find other ways to get your racial classifications stamped, and to get it so that it's on applications and everywhere else that racial classification is on. You can be able to just racially identify how you want to, because you are mixed raced. You're not just black. So you should be able to identify how you want to identify. And there's a lot of biracials out there that don't like the word mulatto. Well, then call yourselves biracial. But those that want to call themselves mulatto, they have that right, because other biracials don't own other biracials. I'm sick of you guys acting like you got ownership on everybody. Well, who told you had that right? When you don't. You don't have ownership on a goddamn thing because you don't have no power. You have no power, no money, no political sources to back any of you up. So as long as you don't have your own society, and you don't, then shut up. Because you don't own nothing. The minute your kids start racially mixing with other races, that's it. They're no longer black. And those are the consequences that you have to deal with when you allow your kids to racially breed outside of your race. When you encourage them, and when you tell them to do it, when you tell them date whoever makes you happy, that, you know, them identifying how they want to identify is the consequence that you're going to have to pay. And now you're going to have to deal with it. You made your bed, now lie in it. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this topic. Thanks so much for listening.